So the idea of this webinar, like most of the webinars that we've done in the past, has come from people reaching out and asking how they should be thinking about maximizing returns at their giving day this spring. This is obviously an interesting year, coming off of the back of the pandemic, which is still not completely over. So, questions like, do we do fully virtual? Do we maybe think of hybrid options? Do we go back to doing what worked 2 years ago before any of this happened? Or do we pick up some of the great ideas that we had in terms of like virtual events from last year? So a lot of questions like these, right? So what we wanted to do on this webinar was to try and keep it very actionable and packed with ideas. So, the reason I requested Ellie to join us on this webinar is because even with a small advancement shop, I think they've got great ideas to drive participation at their giving day. They had an interesting giving day last year. I won't go into the details. I'll let Ellie talk about that. But, they're also conducting one in a couple of weeks from now. So I feel all of you will find those ideas useful. And after Ellie presents her ideas, I'll also walk through a few more ideas from other institutions as well. So this should be really interesting. I'll hand it over to Ellie at this point. Ellie, do you mind walking us through your Giving Day story from last year, the really interesting one, and then what you've got planned for this year?
Absolutely. Thank you. Technical difficulties. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you guys so much. I am the Director of Alumni Relations at William Peace University, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina. Last year, we conducted our first ever dedicated Giving Day on March 11th. And if you think back to what was happening in March of last year, that was really when the coronavirus was getting a lot of attention and when people were making the decision. And our university leadership made the decision at about 2 o'clock in the middle of our Giving Day that we would be transitioning to all remote learning and we would cancel all in-person events on campus. Which was a huge challenge. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we kind of moved through that on that day. So I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen for a second. All right, and if everybody could just do a quick thing in the chat, can you guys see my screen? We were having some technical difficulties, I think, earlier. Can everybody see that? All right, awesome, thank you so much. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about William Peace University. We are a 4-year private liberal arts college in Raleigh, North Carolina. We have a huge focus on immersive learning where we have our students participating in real life situations and work while they're in the classroom. That starts in their freshman year, and we also have a required internship before students can graduate, which are big things that are very important to us in our who we are now as a college university campus. We were founded in 1857 as kind of a little bit of all things educational. We started as an elementary school that went all the way through the first 2 years of college. We were also the very first kindergarten in the state of North Carolina, fun fact. And our campus was briefly used during the Civil War as a Confederate hospital. So we have a really long, interesting history across our campus, but we remained a 2-year institution up until 1997. In the 60s, we stopped offering high school, and elementary we stopped in the early 1900s. But up until 1997, we were primarily a 2-year institution for all women. And in 1997, we began offering bachelor's degrees for our students. And then in 2012, we transitioned to being a co-ed institution. We currently have about 1,000 students and about 10,000, 11,000 living alumni, and about 95 of those are contactable. And it's an important thing to note when talking about our campus and our giving is a little bit about that history. We had a really difficult transition to being a co-ed institution. We had a lot of alumni who felt very hurt. They really felt like they were losing part of that really special experience that made us who we were as a women's institution. And we went in the early 2000s from probably a 15% alumni giving percentage to less than a 1% alumni giving percentage. When I started at the institution, that's about where we were in 2017. So it was a really rough several years for us. And so we have a unique population of alumni who have both an affinity for our school, but many of them also have an affinity from where they got their bachelor's degrees from. And it is mostly female, so that does make a difference in the way that we plan our programming and our events and some of our solicitations. And we have a small advancement shop, which I think many of you can probably relate to. At many schools, when there are challenges, sometimes our area is one that people feel like they can cut. And when I started at the institution in 2017, there were 3 of us in our advancement team, a vice president, an events manager, and then myself, an alumni and annual giving. We are lucky that we are now up to 6 people in our team, which is fantastic, but we don't have any full-time major gift officers. Myself, as well as our vice president, do the majority of our fundraising work, but we now have advancement services, communication, and stewardship, which also support us. So if you are a small shop and you are wondering, is this a reality? Can we do this? I am here to tell you that yes, you can. Yeah, so I hope you guys get some wisdom and some information from the way we made this work. So we did our first ever standalone giving day last year. We before that had done giving campaigns on Giving Tuesday and some of those smaller things. But after going to our own webinars like this, after working with some of our colleagues, we really felt like we wanted to do something that was different, that was going to be a dedicated experience. So we sat down and started thinking about what we could do that was going to be new. So we wanted to find a time. We definitely knew we wanted to do it in the spring. And we worked to incorporate a standard event that we have on our campus, which is our Founders Day, which is celebrated in March in honor of our founder, William Peace. His birthday was in March. And so we've always celebrated in that. And it was kind of this lackluster event on campus. And about 6 years ago, they really started trying to use this event to make it a big production. And so it felt like a really, really good fit. So we incorporated our giving day onto this day, which was a challenge and a blessing because it did mean that we were hosting events that were not necessarily part of our giving day, but it did allow us to incorporate that. One of the things that we did last year, which was a public-facing event, was the grand opening for our Center for Immersive Learning, which was a donor-sponsored gift. And we had invited local business here in Raleigh, our internship partners, several other corporations in the Raleigh area to join us for that. Really gave us an opportunity to talk to them about the education experience that we offer, but also to let them know that there are ways that they too can financially support us and partner with us. It was an interesting event. Again, this was in March, so people were very kind of hesitant, but we did an in-person event. We had breakfast. The mayor of Raleigh happens to be on our board of trustees, so she spoke. And it was very interesting to hear her talk about, the future of Raleigh in this sort of very unknown event. But it really did give us an opportunity to connect with people that were not part of our traditional alumni base and our support group. We had also not really used Giving Tuesday as a big student fundraising program. So we really decided that we were going to put an emphasis on our students on this day, making sure that they knew why we were celebrating Founders Day, but also how we were going to incorporate them into this giving concept. And my colleague came up with this idea of give me a high five. And essentially we asked students to just make a gift of $5. And if they did, we did this door on campus where they could put their hand in green paint, our school colors, and leave their mark on campus. Our annual fund theme, you can see there, was that gifts to peace open the doors to our students for resources, success, and opportunities. So it was really a student way for them to really connect with that concept. Give me five, it's on the door, opening the doors. It worked really well. We used a Giving Day platform from Alma Base last year, which was the first time we had done something that was dedicated to that. And it really helped. We got a lot of traction on the website. People really loved clicking on the progress bar and seeing how people were working and what went really well. We had a parent who made a gift, and it was a big gift. I think it was $1,000. And he was at the top of the leaderboard for parents for a really long time. And somebody else made a gift that put him above that. He went back and made 2 more gifts so that he could stay at the top of that leaderboard. He really appreciated being able to see that visually. And so we were glad for that. And even without having any major gift officers, we did secure pledges ahead of time that we used for challenges. We did a big gift from our board of trustees that really drove a lot of traction throughout that day. As well as our alumni board that did a challenge for giving. And shift happens. So again, we had events scheduled through 9 o'clock that night. And at 2 o'clock, we had to shift our whole plan to really kind of figure out how we were going to move through this and be successful. So we started our first virtual events on that day. And that was something that I never thought I would continue to be doing a year later. But it did end up working out really, really well for that. So we really found that some of the new things that we tried worked really well. So here are just some pictures from the day to share. So up in the top corner is pictures from our immersive learning grand opening. Those are faculty, staff, some of our alumni board members that were there. We celebrate Founders Day by doing a wreath laying ceremony at our founders grave site. Traditionally, we do a walk to campus, from campus to the grave site. And so we did a virtual event for that. That was the first time we had done that. And the lady in jeans is our alumni president. And she missed the memo that we weren't walking. So she walked to the gravesite and met us there. So that was really helpful. And then you can see the door there that we used for our Give Me 5 campaign and some of the students who made a gift. And then that's the Raleigh City Mayor there at our library where the Center for Immersive Learning is located after she spoke. So it was an interesting day. Like I said, shift happens and we worked through it, but it really did kind of give us a new perspective on the concept of virtual and putting that into perspective as we worked through it. So we had a goal last year of 1857 or 18,557, which was really, we thought really reasonable. We were a small shop. We'd never had a giving event that raised us more than about $8,000 on a single day for Giving Tuesday. So we wanted to be realistic. We thought we would really get to this. And we ended up with $42,832 for the day, which we were really quite impressed with. And we were very concerned that once we made the shift to virtual and canceled our in-person events, that we were going to have a huge decline in our giving in the afternoon. So our board of trustees did a $10,000 match challenge that we had planned on using at the very end of the day, and we launched it early. And that really drove a lot of participation right at that time we canceled, because people got that notification saying we canceled, we're figuring out how to protect our students, we really need this money right now. And the trustees did that match, and it really drove a lot of participation there. We had a goal of 200 donors. We did meet that as well, and we really were pleased with that. So some of the things that we learned in this process is that it really did make a difference to have a dedicated day that you could use just for this. And it worked well to combine it with something that our alumni were familiar with, our students were familiar with. And we just added of giving. So it was Founders Day and it became Founders Day of Giving. And it's worked really well. The other things that we did last year that worked incredibly successful was that we really involved our whole campus. We created a committee with representatives from our faculty and staff, our athletics department, our student life team, even our campus security was there. He volunteered to put fake tickets on everybody's car that morning. That was like, just kidding, but pay your ticket as a gift to the university. We declined that option, but it was a cool idea that he felt like he was really part of the process. We have done that again this year, which I'll talk about here in just a second. And then the other thing that we had not thought through in a lot of ways was our follow-up plan. We've done a lot of improvements on this. And some of those were things that were super things that I would never have thought about. Our advancement services team coded all of these donors in a specific way. We knew some of them were only going to give on Founders Day. And so we ended up soliciting them, and then they wrote back and saying, I'm only going to give on Founders Day. I gave because my friend asked me to. So thinking through how you put people into your database, what your thank you plans are, and how to incorporate all of that. So we looked at it kind of from each of our own roles. So what should the stewardship team be doing? What should advancement services be doing? What should alumni relations be doing? We incorporated some of our winners of our most influential challenge and our most generous classes into our alumni weekend plans, so that we were really following through with what happened on Giving Day beyond just a thank you for giving. And that was really important for us. And we've really done a lot of work to make sure our follow-up plans this year are really well planned out. So this year, our Giving Day is coming up. It's in like 14 days. So we are in the thick of this now, really making sure that the last of these pieces are in place. And I am a sucker for making things as simple and easy for people to participate in. So we came up with this 4-point concept, and how you can participate in our Founders Day of Giving was this give, wear, share, and show. Pretty simple. Give a gift, wear your green, WPU or Peace College, share on social media, and then show up for our virtual events. We increased our donation goal this year to 50,000 and our donor goal, which we think is very doable, but also we wanted to understand that this is a challenging time for people and not everyone is capable of giving. There's been a lot of financial impacts. And these pictures that you see here, this is our mascot Phantom, and that statue he's with is our statue of our founder, William Peace, on campus. And Phantom will have a blog post that we've incorporated this year that's going to go out on Monday before, which is Phantom's Guide to Founders Day, really detailing out this give, wear, share, and show, making sure that everybody knows how they can participate as well. Other things that we increased or changed this year, we did a direct mail piece that went with our campaign this year, which you can see here, highlighting again that give, wear, share, and show why you should participate. And then on the back of that piece, we included this I give because, and asked people to take this picture and use it on their social media as an option to show off or to share why they gave on Founders Day. So we sent that out to our entire donor base, which is about 12,000, 15,000 people, in hopes that this would get some additional traction. We added a phone component this year. So our entire team, including some students, have our SciBunt and LIBunt list that we're working through both the day of and then leading up to. And then we've got kind of a live count of last year's Founders Day givers. And if they haven't given yet, to give again this year and how we can encourage that. We have always had a concert on Founders Day, and all of our events this year are virtual. But we are doing a virtual concert that we have planned out to be sort of like a telefund concert that you might see on PBS. And it's by an alum who has a bluegrass band. And we've got students sharing their stories in between sets, our president speaking, and it's about an hour and a half that we've dedicated to where we'll be both doing some entertainment, but also encouraging people to give as part of it. I mentioned the blog that we're working on. We also really are doing more student stories this year. So we asked all of our students who donated last year to talk about why they give and why they felt that was meaningful for them. And we have a schedule set up for the week of to be sharing not only the way that gifts impacted these students, but why they felt that they needed to give back as well. And then we also implemented a text to give software this year that we're using for Giving Day to try and get that up and running and solicit more donations that way. So hopefully those will give us some good traction. I'll be happy to let you guys know how successful we are in 15 days. Some other things that we are using with Alma Base and a couple other options to really kind of drive participation. Of course, our gift challenges. We do have another match from our board of trustees again this year, but we have also incorporated a number of these non-monetary challenges, and then what we're calling incentive challenges. So our president, who happens to be a gentleman with no hair, has said that if we get a certain number of student gifts by that day, that he'll wear a wig to our showcase day, which is big, really just this kind of big virtual presentation day where students get to present their projects. So he'll spend a whole day on campus in either a Bob Ross wig, or I think a mullet wig is the other option. And student donors who participate will get to vote for which wig they'd like him to wear. We also secured an incentive challenge from one of our major athletic donors, who we have designated that the athletic team that has the highest number of gifts on that day and raises the most money will get an additional $1,000. So it really got our coaches and our students excited about this opportunity that, you know, if we get just 10 people or 10 more people than the other teams, then we get the opportunity to get this extra money, and it doesn't really require a whole lot of work on their part. And we have a couple other of those that we'll use throughout the day from our alumni board. For example, if our most influential for our peer-to-peer fundraising, they'll get to designate where an additional $250 gift goes to a location of their choice. So we've already secured that gift. It's not really an additional amount of money. It's just, instead of going to, you know, our loyalty fund, which is our unrestricted gift, they get to designate where that would go. We also just partnered with Double the Donation, or Match 360 Pro, for matching gifts. This was an area we really identified as basically just money we were missing out on. And so we've incorporated a matching gift campaign so that when people make a gift on the day, that they're going to get information about how to make a matching gift. And Alma Base does have an integration with that, so it's all part of their giving process. And then the leaderboards, which are all part of the platform that we're using, really is driving that participation. I had to give my athletic coaches early access to that leaderboard because they wanted to know who had made their gifts early and how that works. And then the tribute wall, which is a cool new thing where people can add pictures as well as messages to their gifts. And we've done a couple of those. My alumni board, when they found out about it, were really excited and have already started asking how many tributes they can put in one gift. I told them to make more gifts or get other people to do it. But they have really been trying to encourage that. And then, of course, we are doing events throughout the day. They are all virtual, and we have some of those that are sort of designated for just our campus, as well as those that are public facing for our community and our alumni. And we tried to partner, again, that whole campus approach, working with things that people were already doing that we could just incorporate to that day. So our human resources department has been doing coffee with HR in the mornings. It's really just kind of a fun log on, see how your colleagues are doing. And so they volunteered to do one of these on the day. And we are working with our diversity, equity, and inclusion office to do an alumni, student, faculty, and staff chat on the day that's all about what it means to be in a community and how that community at our campus has changed over the years. So kind of an open dialogue. And that was an event they were planning to do anyways. It just made it really easy to get them involved in our event and to also make sure that we were using these opportunities to talk to people about how they can give back. And I think, yeah, so this is just sort of the head of our campaign page that we're working off of. I wish we still had 21 days, 16 hours, but we are in the midst of this. I did see that there are some questions here.
I'm going to read them out for you, Ellie, just to make this easier. So first question from Danielle from CSU Bakersfield. Is there a strategy you recommend for follow-up communication with Giving Day donors?
So we have a three-piece approach that we're doing. So we're doing an immediate electronic thank you. We're doing a print thank you. And then we're doing any special special categories. So if you are a student, you're not only going to get that electronic and that print, but you're also going to get a picture of the president in his wig on that day. Same thing with our athletic challenge. You'll get the print and the electronic piece, but we're also going to recognize those teams at our alumni weekend, and have an opportunity to kind of invite those donors to join us for that special recognition, and sort of a celebration of that. I think there are lots of possibilities. We also have videos that we'll be sharing both to our social media, but also in our e-newsletter. Our monthly e-newsletter goes out the 15th, which is like 4 days after our Giving Day. And so that's going to be a special edition all about our Giving Day, because we wouldn't necessarily share some of those thank yous with everybody, but we also wanted to kind of drive excitement for people who didn't give to know what we did and what was successful.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's pretty comprehensive in terms of, like the follow-up communication with your Giving Day donors. Couple of other questions. One from Joanne. Do you advertise the events on the Alma Base page? I do know that you do that. So Joanne, the answer to that is yes. Let us know if you have a follow-up question on that. Tara asks, during those activities, HR and diversity, how is giving incorporated? Is there a call to action?
Absolutely. So we have a representative from our team at every event that's happening on the day. And we worked with them on the programming of it. So for example, we have some giveaways for faculty and staff that are sponsored by our office. And we will kind of talk to them that this is the start of Founders Day, start early, make your gift. So we have somebody who will do that. And then in the campus chat, we specifically worked with them on the questions that they were going to be asking. And there were two of them. What can you do to contribute to the community after graduation? And what ways have you benefited from scholarships, gifts to the university? And we provided examples for them so that students could hear, oh, the reason we have a Belk dining hall is because Mr. Belk made a gift to support the institution. Or, oh, you live in Findlay. Did you know that that's from the Findlay Foundation? So we incorporated that. So everything that we do throughout the day has an ask component of it.
Yeah, got it. We'll take one more question here, and then I'll go through the rest of the presentation as well. And then we'll go through the rest of the questions, if that's okay with you, Ellie. Yeah. So the other question here is from Jasmine. What is a prank thank you?
I don't know. What did I say, a prank? I don't know that answer.
I'm not sure either. Jasmine, feel free to clarify that question, but I'm just going to, in the interest of time, go through a few more ideas that I wanted to share on this presentation. Ellie, do you want to stop sharing screen?
Absolutely. And I will just say, my LinkedIn was included in the event description, as well as my email, I believe, but it's ebarker@peace.edu. I'd be happy to answer any other questions. They may happen in 15 days and not tomorrow. But I am happy to answer questions and continue to share. I'm a member of CASE, and for those of you who are also a member of that, you know that that stands for Copy and Steal Everything. So I am absolutely happy to share our success and what might be able to be useful for you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you for all of those ideas, Ellie. I think surely a lot of people here will take inspiration from those ideas. I actually wanted to sort of present a few more ideas from other institutions that I thought were really interesting and would be useful for you all here. A couple of them here. Firstly, this one. So this was Marietta College's Founders Day, right? And also happens to be on Valentine's Day. So what they did was they decided to organize their, Giving Day on that day, on the Founders Day, which is February the 14th, on that day, right? And to gather alumni support for their Giving Day last year, they actually launched this really interesting #LoveForMC campaign on social media. And the social media campaign was actually launched before the Giving Day to help build momentum, right? And essentially, #LoveForMC encouraged Marietta alums to come forward and share stories and pictures about why they love their college. And this sort of unique, heartfelt kind of engagement strategy created that ripple effect that encouraged other alumni to advocate for the campaign and helped the college actually raise about $192,000, on their giving day from 1,200 donors, right? And for me, the key takeaway from this idea is to use social media creatively to gather momentum leading up to your giving day, right? I mean, across all of the giving days that we've seen, every institution has a solid sort of social media strategy in place for the day of their giving day, for the day off, and also maybe, a few days leading up to the event. But a lot of this, in my experience, is concentrated on what your institution's social media handles are going to be posting or sharing. But really, the key here is to think about how do you get your constituents and donors to post and share, right? That's the key. So that's an interesting idea that I wanted to share. This is actually another example of using social media to create momentum ahead of the campaign. So for the Pitt Day of Giving, University of Pittsburgh encouraged alumni to print out this, Cathedral of Learning coloring card, right? Decorate it and then share it on social media, right? Which was a really fun way to get the community involved. And they also sort of combined it with a challenge gift for some extra motivation, right? So they basically said, the winners of the contest would get to choose, an extra $500 in donations, right? I'm going to quickly show you their page. Actually, a pretty comprehensive social kit here. I'm hoping that everybody is still able to see my screen. I'm on the Pitt Day of Giving page here. Ellie, are you able to see my screen? Just to make sure that I'm not speaking to myself. Okay, cool. All right. Couple of other things I wanted to go over as well. This is an app. I mean, I absolutely loved this. So a lot of institutions, really struggle to sort of position their giving day appropriately. What's the right kind of message? How do we create urgency for donors during the giving day? So that's why I wanted to share this example. Berea College in Kentucky got their president and his wife involved in creating this amazing video. So I'll actually just play the video out for a couple of minutes. I think you should absolutely watch this, and then I'll sort of talk about my key takeaway from here.
"'Twas the night before Giving Day at the president's house. Dr. Rolos was awake, and so was his spouse. Students were nestled all snug in their beds, with visions of homeward dancing in their heads. The college offers each student admission. Not one is required to pay any tuition. President Rolos cares about his students, each and every one. He knows they are kind, smart, creative, and fun. But tonight, President Rolos worried and wondered, how could the college afford all 1,600? Of course, there's the endowment, and that's really great, and support from the federal government and also our state, but it wasn't enough for all bills to be paid and guarantee every student received financial aid. Mrs. Rolos in her kerchief and the president in his cap just couldn't figure out how they would ever meet the gap. Suddenly, the president jumped up with the platter, and Mrs. Rolos called out, "Lyle, what is the matter?" "I've got it," he called. "I know just what to do." And with that, out of the front door of his house, he flew. Off to the quad, he ran like a flash. Years of run-walk club had made him quite fast. His eyes, how they twinkled, his smile, how merry. He bounded with joy up to Hutchins' library. He knew there was only one way the college could afford to give out all tuition-promised scholarship awards. "Our alumni," the president shouted, "our students and foundations. We need all of our friends, faculty, staff, and organizations. In order for the work of Berea College to be done, we will need the help from each and every one. On the eve of Giving Day, we beseech, can 1,600 donors be reached?" Berea College students will study, learn, and work with the continued generosity of our entire network. With the wink of his eye and the nod of his head, he let the whole campus know there was nothing to dread. As he jogged down the steps and disappeared out of sight, the president called out, "Happy Giving Day to all, and to all, a good night."
Wasn't that amazing? Ellie mentioned earlier today when we were talking that she watched this video and pinged her president to see if he would do the slow walk.
My team is on this webinar too, and they just messaged and said this video is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the key takeaway is sort of positioning the need for their donation really clearly, right? Like your donors need to understand why it's important to give and why they should do it today, right? Another takeaway is that giving day shouldn't just be about the advancement team. Ellie sort of alluded to this earlier as well. You should really get the whole campus to participate and celebrate together. So, you absolutely need to think beyond the advancement team. Let me just switch here. Yeah. This is another interesting example. Meredith College is also a liberal arts college in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so to encourage higher participation, they came up with this idea. This is very similar to kind of what Ellie was mentioning earlier as well. So, they created this printable page where donors could honor someone. And one of their giving day goals was to have 500 strong women honored by their community. So with a lot of their donors posting this on social media, it created that peer-to-peer influence that is really critical for giving day success, right? So I thought this was really creative, not just to kind of boost participation, but also to really celebrate your alumni, right? This one's really bold. This is one of our customers as well, and I absolutely loved this one. So Calvert Hall College High School in Maryland had their president, Brother John Kane, promote this really interesting challenge where Brother John basically promised to shave his mustache on a live video if they beat their giving day goal of 1,170 donors by 11:30 p.m. on their giving day, right? And guess what? More than 1,400 donors raised over $280,000 on the day, and Brother John was starchless for the first time since 1986, apparently. So I think the real key here, I want to actually play a small portion of that video. I think this is again really
I sure as heck hope this works the way I planned it. So here we go. So,
oh. Sorry, technical troubles there. I have no idea what happened there, but yeah, I'll definitely share a link to that video. The key again is to make sure that your giving day has an element of fun associated with it, because you have to communicate the message of celebration and sort of celebrate the occasion with something that people cherish and remember, right? That for me is the key takeaway from this one. Here's another fun one. I won't go into a lot of the details here, but can you think of asking all of your teachers to share what's in their fridge? I mean, sounds like a very random idea, but that's what these videos could do, right? Like that's what Denver Jewish Day School did. They made a TikTok video out of it. A great way to get teachers involved. Again, going back to that idea of how do you get the whole campus involved in this event. And the interesting thing here is that they promised to release this video once they hit 90% of their giving day goal, right? So again, going back to the idea of creating challenges to drive momentum during the campaign, right? So it's important, again, like Ellie was mentioning, to remember that not all challenges need to be monetary, right? So you can sort of create challenges that are purely sort of fun and non-monetary in nature, right? So this was a good one. Again, I'll try and play a small portion of this. Let's see if this works. I'll just kind of pause it there. But yeah, you get the idea. It's just teachers getting involved, doing a little simple thing, but and then the institution sort of saying this video will be released if we hit 90% of our giving day goal. So that was fun. And again, gamification is also a great way to create a healthy sense of urgency. This idea from Luther College in Iowa, where they created what they called as power hours throughout the day, where different groups of alumni could triple their donations during that hour, right? So for me, what it signaled was that it creates a strong motivation for those specific groups during that time, right? And for you, it ensures that your giving day campaign is moving along nicely throughout the day, right? So I thought this was a really interesting idea as well. This is sort of, again, we'll share the link to this one. different hours, different groups of alumni, different affinity groups, getting to triple their donations, and you obviously are using your pledges to make that happen. Last one here, Cornell actually did this really interesting thing where not only did they make it a point to encourage their constituents to engage on social media, but they're actually measuring and rewarding this kind of engagement, right? So they created a host of challenges, motivating alumni to sort of engage on social media, and then create incentives for them to do so, right? Like this particular one was sort of, join the conversation on the Facebook page. We'll randomly select one comment on the thread to win this prize, where you can donate $1,500 to a specific unit or college that's closest to your heart, right? So that was, I thought that was quite interesting as well. Just wanted to quickly share this screenshot, I guess, of where William Peace University's Giving Day page is at right now. So this is the message, and once the Giving Day goes live, you'll sort of see all of the leaderboards and challenges and all of that coming up here as well. And this is the button to give early. So yeah, those are all the ideas that we had. Let me see. I'm going to skip the live poll just in the interest of time. Let me see if there are more questions that we can answer here. All right. Going back to a few questions that were asked earlier. Mira, Ellie, I think this is a question for you. Mira said, we've been really strict with gifts only being on the day of giving. What are the pros and cons of allowing gifts early? I think because we have a match that goes live on the day, so to make it fair, we don't go live until a set time.
Yeah, we really found that having those gifts help us drive the additional donations. So knowing that we have this $10,000 from our board of trustees is a great way for us to incentivize other people to do it. It definitely helps in getting those pledges and those gifts. I don't know that our board of trustees would sit down and say, okay, we'll give you guys $10,000 today for no other reason than to say, this is our giving day, this is what's happening, and we want to encourage your gifts to move people to the next space. So yeah, we have found that having those gifts that come in early were really helpful. And then of course, if you make a gift now on the platform during that Give Early campaign, which we've had some people do, we still count that for the day of. It's all part of the campaign. So that's one of the reasons that we do it. Yeah.
Got it. Ellie, one more question from Joanne about events. So do you include descriptions of events and links to join on the Alma base page? Which section do you use for this?
So we have the description of our public facing events on the landing page for the giving page. And then we also have an event that we use on Alma Base. We've just created a Founders Day of Giving event registration. And we did that so that we had a method for sending out the virtual event links. And also for our metrics, we track and monitor how many alumni attend events. And since all of our events are virtual, this is a way that we can give people credit essentially for attending, and that contributes to our alumni engagement metrics that our team uses.
Got it. And then I think Jasmine sort of followed up on her question. I think she wanted to maybe get some more details about what was that video with your chancellor in a wig.
Yeah,
if you could add more. Yeah.
So we're using that as a student incentive challenge where our president will wear a wig for our showcase day if we get so many of those gifts. So again, it's a non-monetary challenge to encourage students. They have to do a gift of $5 or more, but if we get 75 students on the day, then he'll do that. And it's fun and it's silly, and because he's a gentleman with no hair, it's a very different striking opinion. And surprisingly, we learned that he had one of those wigs already that he was very willing to do. So you never know until you ask what people are willing to do.
That sounds like fun. I guess we have one last question here. Vince Christ asks, what specific Alma-based features help these various institutions educate alumni and raise awareness and money? I'll actually take that. So Vince, I think a lot of the a lot of the social media ideas that we talked about are obviously, outside of the scope of what we do at Alma Base, but what we do really well is sort of tie all of that back into, understanding who your influencers are, who's able to drive more gifts for your campaign and things like that. I know you and I have an active conversation going on, so, happy to sort of follow up with more details on that.
And if I can
Yeah.
just jump in there, I will certainly say, Alma Base has provided us with a lot of resources. So on the giving campaign itself, there's a button that says invite your friends, and that's how they get their link to become an influencer and join the leaderboard. For us, they've made personalized graphics that we were able to share on our social media that demonstrate that. So it was a really easy, simple thing. Our communications team didn't have to do it. They provided it, and it was a way that we could say, hey, this is how you do this. And then, of course, they've done a lot of work to help us figure out all of the features in the platform and the best way to do that. So I think that they've been really helpful for us in getting that done. And especially for us as a small shop, we don't have a lot of time to put some of those resources together. And then again, they're really great at sharing what other schools have done and giving us resources. And so we've been able to incorporate some of the things they've done.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Ellie. If any of you are already working with us and you need some help with any of your Giving Day promotional material or anything like that, we're happy to help. So feel free to reach out, and we'll figure out a way to make it happen. Right. I think those are all the questions that we have. I know we're a little over time here, so I want to give everyone the opportunity to. One thing I want to mention before we drop off is if there are particular topics that you'd like us to cover in our future webinars, if there's something that's particularly interesting, please write to us. We're always looking for interesting content to share with our audience. And if you have any further questions, feel free to email either myself or Ellie as well. We'll send both of our email IDs and LinkedIn profiles on the follow-up email to all of you. Thank you again for taking the time, and thank you, Ellie, for sharing your ideas.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here. I did put my email in the chat, so feel free to reach out. But I hope you guys learned something and it was helpful for you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.